Okay, class, today we're going to do a review on right triangle trigonometry. And an easy way to remember your trig functions is the acronym SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. S is for sine, and sine is opposite over hypotenuse. C is cosine, is adjacent over hypotenuse. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. And these are our inverse functions. Cosecant is just sine flipped over. Secant is cosine flipped over. And cotangent is tangent flipped over. Alright, so theta represents one of these acute angles in the right triangle. The question will tell you what theta is, or where theta is. And so wherever it's located, you need to be able to tell which sides are the opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. And so as soon as you're given theta, what you need to do is draw you an arrow going across to the opposite side. And so that's going to tell us where the opposite side is. So this is opposite. This is opposite. Your hypotenuse is always across from your right angle. That's your longest side. And then your other side's the adjacent side. And so before we do the problem, we want to locate where theta is, draw an arrow. This tells us where the opposite side is, and then we can label the other two sides. So we need to be able to do this before we solve the problem. Okay, what we're going to do is go over several of your study guide problems for your SOHCAHTOA test. And we'll start with number 1. Number 1 says a right triangle has sides measuring 12, 35, and 37. So let's go ahead and label our right triangle. 12 is our shortest side, 35. Our longest side is 37, so that's going to be our hypotenuse. Okay, and it says, what is the cosine of the angle that lies opposite the 35-inch side? Okay, so this is telling us where theta is. So what is the cosine of the angle that's opposite the 35 side? So here's theta, right here. This is the angle opposite the 35 side. What is the cosine of this angle? Well, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. This is my opposite side. So cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. This is the adjacent hypotenuse, 12 over 37. Okay, now we're going to look at number 3 on your study guide. A right triangle has legs measuring 5 and 12. Your legs are attached to your right angle, so 5 and 12. It doesn't give me the hypotenuse, but this is a right triangle triple. This is a 5, 12, 13 triple. If you'll look in the resource folder from last week, I left you some notes, some triples that you need to know. It's 3, 4, 5, 5, 12, 13, 8, 15, 17, and 7, 24, 25. If you know those, you'll be able to do these a little bit quicker. Okay, so our legs are 5 and 12. What is the cosine of the angle that lies opposite the 12-inch side? That's telling us where theta is. So this angle opposite the 12-inch side is theta. What is cosine of this angle? Well, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So my opposite side is 12. The adjacent is 5, hypotenuse 13. So cosine theta, 5 over 13. Okay, now let's look at number 5. A painter needs to reach the top of a tall sign in the middle of a flat and level field. He uses a ladder of length x to reach a point on the sign 20 feet above the ground. The angle formed where the ladder meets the ground is noted in the figure below as theta. Which of the following relationships must be true? Okay, so it gives you answer choices with different trig functions. I'm going to go ahead and draw my arrow from theta. So I know my opposite side is 20. I know my hypotenuse is x. The two sides that we're using opposite and hypotenuse. Which trig function uses opposite and hypotenuse? Well, that's going to be sine. So sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse equals 20 over x, and I believe this is an answer choice. It is. Alright, let's look at number 6. It says a department store escalator is 30 feet long and forms an angle with the floor of 44 degrees. Which of the following is an expression for the horizontal distance of the escalator from beginning to end? And so you have the diagram given to you. They give you theta 44 degrees, and so they're wanting you to solve for x, or which expression would be the answer for x. And so we draw our arrow from theta. I know this is the opposite side. I'm not using the opposite side. We're using the adjacent and the hypotenuse. And so we're going to use cosine theta, they give you theta is 44, equals adjacent over hypotenuse. So x over the hypotenuse. Okay, so we can solve a proportion. We can just put this over 1. And solving this proportion, we can cross multiply. Cross multiply here. 1 times x is x. 30 times cosine 44. And this should be an answer choice. It is. If you wanted to find the exact answer, you'd put cosine 44 in your calculator times 30, and that would give you the exact answer. But this is the answer choice on number 6. All right, let's look at number 10. Number 10 says, how tall is the tree to the nearest foot? And they give us this diagram. They give us theta, and they give us one other side. We've got to find the height of the tree. So we're going to go to theta, draw us an arrow across. That tells us this is the opposite side. We're not using the hypotenuse. Your only trig function, or there's 2 trig functions that do not use the hypotenuse, is tangent and cotangent. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. And so I'll say tangent theta, which is 37, equals opposite, I'll just call this side x, that's what we're trying to find, opposite over adjacent, 50. And so if we were actually solving for it, we would solve this proportion, cross multiply. So we'd get x equals 50 times tangent 37. And if you'll notice, the problem gives you the value of tangent 37. Tangent 37 is 0.754. So we're going to say 50 times 0.754. See what that gives you. 50 times 0.754. I get x equals 37.7 to the nearest foot. This is 5 or greater, so we'll round up to 38. Okay, number 11, it tells us tangent theta is 8 over 15. And the question wants to know, what is sine theta? Okay, so let's draw a triangle. It doesn't matter if you want to put theta here or here, it doesn't matter. So if theta's here, and I'll draw my arrow telling me where the opposite is, tangent theta is 8 over 15. Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So opposite side is 8. Adjacent side is 15. The question wants to know sine theta, and you need the hypotenuse for sine theta. 8, 15, what? This is a triple. This is a right triangle triple. 8, 15, 17. If you didn't know the triple, you could do Pythagorean theorem, but that saves you time. So now we need to figure out what is sine theta. Sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Sine theta is 8 over 17.